Hey, this is Stephen Amell, and you are listening to Tomorrow's Legends, the podcast. Don't fail your city.
You think you know the story. You've heard it 100 times. But this is not the tale that you know, for this part of the story has yet to be written. Join Flash, Harley, and X-Force 11 as they take the Wave Rider into the near future and check in on some old friends. This is the new adventures of Superman and Lois, as chronicled by Tomorrow's Legends.
Hello, Super Fam of Steel. We are in Smallville again this week for Season 2, Episode 6 of Superman and Lois, called Tried and True, directed by, for those Power Rangers fans of you out there, the Pink Ranger. Amy Jo Johnson directed this one. So that's kind of fun. That's a fun little connection. Rangers was beyond my time. I was kind of in the I've grown up, I don't need kids shows anymore kind of phase of my life, so I never really got into Power Rangers.
I didn't either, but my brother loved it.
There you go. Cool. So as always, I am the Tried and True Flash.
And I'm Harley Quinn.
And I'm X-Force 11.
Hello, Legends.
And she's Gideon. All right, a little bit of news this week. Tell us what you got, X-Force.
So, continuing the trend of women directors, we had Amy Jo Johnson this week, and next week we have Elizabeth Henstridge, aka Gemma Simmons from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Agents of Steel, love it.
Oh, goodness. But anyway, so she's up next week, and so that's going to be fun. I'm excited to see her do that, and also, we've got a break coming up after next week, at least 1 week. Don't know yet until next week if it's going to be a 1 week or a 2 week break, but we're going to have a break from Superman and Lois for a week.
So just a little week off. Cool.
Yep.
I'm excited
hopefully just the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully just the one. I'm excited for Miss Henstridge, though. You guys know my story with her, and I just think it'll be cool to see what she brings as a director. I don't know did she direct any S.H.I.E.L.D. episodes?
She's done some directing. Yeah, so I think so.
I think she did, and maybe in the last season. I really want to say she did one in the last season for sure.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I think a lot of them took turns. As they knew the show was going out, they all took turns.
Yeah, I feel like that tends to happen as shows get into the later seasons. They give actors the opportunity to, I mean, we've seen it on Flash, we've seen it on Arrow. I mean, lots of those actors all took turns directing. So
Very, very true. Well, cool. We got that.
Legends too, yeah.
Yeah. We got that to look forward to, so good stuff. Let's get into our impressions of the show.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
Oh, look at these scores. Wow.
So I'm going high this week because I liked it better than last week, and I liked last week, so I gave this one 9.75 sibling arguments.
Nice.
This episode was awesome. We got a huge info dump on Bizarro's world.
Oh, man.
We got 2 fight scenes that mirror each other. We got football action. We got family drama and so much more. This season is hitting on all cylinders, and I am here for it. I liked Amy Jo's direction style. She can come back and direct anytime in my book. So that's where I am.
Yes.
Yeah, I am right up there with you. I gave this 9 Brothers Reunited. And I mean, I thought this was a very, very good episode. Like, just when I thought I knew what was going on, they kind of have turned it all around. So I'm still curious. I found my note. I have been looking for this note all throughout our notes, listeners. This is really funny. Okay, this will come back. But I'm really curious about Lucy. I want to know how she plays into all this moving forward. Because to me, and apparently I also talked about this last week, it sort of seems like she doesn't really know Clark is Superman. I don't know why I'm getting that feeling, but I really am getting that feeling. So we can dig into that. I'm super excited to talk about that. And I really am still struggling to understand this whole connection with Allie, with her, with Lois. I mean, the only thing that I see immediately is just Allie's vendetta against Lois for this article that has like defamed her. So I'm still trying to really understand that connection, because I really feel like there has to be something deeper. Like, that just feels too surface level for me, but maybe I'm just overthinking it. I don't know. I loved the mirrored fight scene between Bizarro and Kal-El. As soon as it started, the last scene, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the exact same fight, but it's flipped. Like, everything is opposite, down to the lighting. Like, it was so well done. Such an amazing touch. A great way to end the episode. And I cannot wait to really get into this discussion.
Yes. Well, I'm right there with you guys. I give it a 9 opposite worlds. That opening sequence threw so much at us that I was in shock. And I think it was in the Facebook group, Abby suggested we could probably do an entire podcast episode just on those opening 5 minutes alone. And that might be a good idea for bonus content. Maybe. But they are
may or may not have already put it in our notes.
But they are not leaving any mystery to any of it. Right after we just speculated last week that this whole season story going forward was going to be all about this opposite world, and yet they threw it all at us. And talk about rewriting Bizarro's origin and everything around who he is. I mean, wow, this is way different than we've ever had before. Lana is a super. She looked awesome, and I want to know what that story is all about. It was just crazy. Like, man, it was crazy. I can't even organize my thoughts yet. And this is my shortest review ever. Because
it is.
Just, yeah. Can't organize myself.
You've never had an opening comment that short, ever.
I take this opportunity as my stage to speak to the audience, right? And I'm just, that opening sequence just has me going, holy cow. And I can't wait till we dive into that part of it. So.
Oh, yeah.
Which is probably first, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. No, we've got the meat all in the front. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get right to it.
So it was like we said, it's just so much, because you could sit there and frame by frame everything and still not get everything. I was looking, and it appears that Bizarro Clark lost his Lois, lost John. Those two were X'd out on the pictures. And I'm assuming he lost Jordan too, but we don't see him X'd out. And we see him leaving his house, and he's wearing the suit. But then we cut to him entering the DOD without the suit. And I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And in this epic fight that he has, he comes up with a super version of Lana, and she's got Tal Rose symbol on her chest. So let's get into this.
Yes, I definitely wanted to break these scenes down because, like, we literally said last week we'd love to get a glimpse of Bizarro's world, and they gave it to us. Here it is. Oh, I was not expecting that right away, but that's totally awesome. Everything is opposite, and like, I tried to call out several of the things I picked up on, and I know you guys have added in some things too. So let's kind of pick this scene apart a little bit.
Okay. Well, let me, before you go through your list, Jess, I just had a thought I thought I'd throw in right here.
Yeah.
Bizarro said, when our world was split in two.
Right.
Yes.
And that really made me go, whoa, what? So that's why his world and himself are exact mirror opposites of everything. Like you just said, everything is opposite. So how the heck do we try to understand that now? Because what do they mean our Earth was split in two? Our world, our dimension, what was split in two, why, and how, and what caused it? Is it only our world that got split? Because that tells me it's not actually now not part of the multiverse. It's uniquely our world's other half, as they say. The dark half, the opposite half, the reverse half, whatever you want to call it. And that to me is just huge, huge information. It's a huge thing. And I wonder if we're going to get more explanation of it, since this was only episode 6. Will we get more about that? But our world was split in two. So that means they were together.
Yeah, it has. He said that the pendants have been around since prehistoric history or whatever, when the worlds got split. But if you think about it, it has to be more than worlds, because he comes from a different world. He comes from Krypton, and so everything's got to be split. It's not just the planet Earth. It's got to be Krypton and everything else. It's the entire reality of that particular universe. So,
whoa, okay, now you're even blowing my more, because I was just thinking Earth split, and that version of Kal-El, the Bizarro version, was already there. He come from Krypton, so he's on our Earth, and it got split. But if it's an entire mirror opposite universe that's out there, that's even more insane. That means there's an entire backwards universe. My head can't get that yet. I can't wrap around that. That's crazy. Forget the multiverse.
I think it's less like an issue of universes and more like dimensions, because they've also kind of alluded to this as the shadow dimension. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like it's like our, like the light dimension is like our dimension, like what we think of as our world. And then the shadow dimension is like the opposite, the mirrored side. Probably kind of similar to like Flash's Mirrorverse, but maybe just done a little bit better.
Yeah,
that's kind of how I'm thinking of it, as like another dimension.
Yeah, well, because everything's backwards. Like we've seen in cartoons and animation and other movies, when things get ripped in two, there's like a good side and a bad side. It's like the dark and the light. So I'm surprised that it actually it didn't take that effect. It's like you got split in half, so it's like, here's your picture. I know you guys can't see, and it got split in half. So and now it's the two mirrors looking at each other, right? It's yeah. So if you could imagine a mirror, if you're staring at your reflection, and it gets split down the middle from the sides, there's your two halves of worlds. You got the reverse side and you got your side, but neither of you know that the other side is opposite yours. You like your side feels the way it's supposed to be to you.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's really interesting to think about. But we can run through a few of the things that, like I caught just a few things. I know there's a lot more. The first thing I noticed was the red sun. Because we know that red sun depowers our Superman, and we also learned that yellow sun depowers Bizarro, or so we speculated. And
well,
they confirmed that this episode.
They did, and in that fight sequence that you see in the hallway against the soldiers, they're shining the yellow light on him as they're fighting, and we know later in the episode it's the exact opposite. It's red here, so
Yep.
Exactly, yeah. So that's one of the opposites. And then he uses kryptonite, what I guess looks like to power himself. I didn't know that they could do that they could use those inhalers to like supercharge themselves.
I'm assuming he's using it like, I'm assuming that Clark could take that XK and inhale it, and it would boost his powers. And that's, him, Bizarro using the regular kryptonite enabled him to kind of get past the lights and Lana too. So, yeah.
Which falls into that's what I had guessed last week. I had said, I wonder if Superman, when he grabbed the piece of rock to punch out Bizarro, he knew that would enhance his strength. And it looks like that's a possibility now.
Could be.
That's true.
Yeah. Yep.
That's true. Yeah. Even though he didn't ingest it, he did still sort of have it. So yeah, there may be something to that a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing is his family is gone. Jeff already mentioned the pictures where Lois and John are crossed out.
So does that mean Jordan's still around on his side?
I don't know. I mean, we didn't see him.
Yeah.
It didn't look like anyone was there.
Yeah.
No. And I have a point later in, but I'm going to add it to your thought here, because you said his family is gone. We looked at the pictures, and there's an X on Lois and an X on Jonathan. Did you notice, so I look closely at Cal, he's not all scarred up in the picture like we see him now. So I'm wondering what made him look like that. Why is he all scarred? Why are his eyes glowing blue? Because in the picture, he looks like our regular Clark. And that answers my question. Does everybody look that way on Bizarro's world? But no, they actually all look human. So something happened to him to get him to be all scarred up and stuff. Now, from what? Any theories?
Experimentation? His cape is also tattered, I noticed.
Yeah.
Could that just be from crossing over? Did that suit he made not protect him diving into the ground like that? And
no, because we saw him like that before he took off.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You're right.
When he was at the DOD, it was,
Yeah.
So
I honestly think it's, he's been fighting battles and he's not been able to heal like he should. Okay. And, there's something else going on. I don't know.
Or is Superman, is Bizarro depressed? Is he hurting himself because he's lost his family? I mean, your next point kind of might play into that as well. Is he really depressed? When people, mental health, I mean, they hurt themselves. Maybe that's he's doing something to himself.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I don't know. I hadn't really thought about it other than like maybe just like experimentation.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he does make an offhand comment that he's not as revered on his Earth.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that's what made me think experimentation.
Yeah. Which is an interesting point. He says, I'm not as revered as you. Does that also play into the opposites? Superman is not revered. He's not a... I mean, he maybe not be a bad guy, but the world doesn't like him. They don't care for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he still raised a family, so...
Yeah, but at this point, we do see, like, the other thing we notice is that the farm is completely run down.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, our farm is in decent shape, but his is not. Like, the house is falling apart and everything.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm wondering about.
Yeah. And then I think probably the most obvious thing that we all noticed was that the first tell, the papers are written backwards. I guess the red sun was the first tell.
Yeah.
Which is cool. So that means everybody reads that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, everything's reversed, and they speak that way too.
Yeah. Now, a couple things that I noticed in there. He has a cat in the barn and not a dog. So could that cat be, instead of Crypto the dog, this is Crypto the cat? Because they made sure to show us, and I wasn't sure if it was the sun shining off the cat's eyes, because the cat's looking out the window, and then he turns to face the camera, and his eyes glow red. So does the cat have powers?
I mean, the dog has powers, so...
Yeah, so Crypto the cat.
Yeah.
Or how would you say that backwards?
Opteric.
Yeah, Opteric. And I already started to mention my point about he's not scarred in the pics. And I also noticed when he goes to the office to grab the pendant from Allie, he actually punches her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that makes me wonder, did he just punch her out? Was that a killing blow? Do we know for sure that the Allie on his world is still alive and still there? Because we were talking about the two Allies coming together. I was just wondering, maybe he just hit her because he's not at full strength, so he just punched her and takes the pendant because he's angry at her.
Yeah, I think because of the conversation later that she's still alive.
Okay.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I did have that same question though.
Yeah. That I did wonder, and then he talks about, so I'm thinking she's still alive.
So he grabs the pendant because when he's telling his story during the sequence to Clark and Lara, he says that she asks him point blank, "What's the pendant all about?" And he says it's an older than time and all that kind of stuff. So when their worlds got split, does that mean the pendant got split? Everything got split. So that was his half on that world. Yeah. So he grabs it and he brings it to this. So now there's two pendants on our part of the world.
Yeah, which is admittedly problematic.
Yeah. It's a bad idea.
Yeah, this is not a good plan.
Yeah.
He says he can't destroy it, so he tried. So we saw that in the other app.
He says, "I'm not strong enough here to destroy it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, there's lots. We got lots to go on still.
Yeah. So he suits up, puffs the kryptonite, and then he flies into the mines and ends up crossing over into our world. And I'm like, okay, how?
Yeah, what's going on there? What did he figure? Because he knew what he was doing. He built that suit, and then he flies way up high, and then he goes down there as fast as he can. And I didn't really see any mines there. It's the same landmass, but he just punches right through the ground, and you see him digging all the way down, and then all of a sudden there's like this red lightning and red glow that just kind of, and there he is. He's gone through. So, and that to me made me think that's similar to John Henry when he went to space to get away from his Superman. There was that red thing in the sky that he went into.
Oh, yeah.
And came over, right? So is there a connection there somehow? An energy thing? But that's something to think about. We can come back to that. I want to just pause right here and just say, wait, because everything we were speculating on is that he sent himself over here. We were talking about Allie brought him over here, Allie sent him over here, the prisoner sent him over here, somebody sent him here, and it wasn't. It was all on him. He wasn't sent by anyone. He put his own suit together. He flies at top speed and then crashes in the ground and crosses over. So I want to ask, was he escaping? Was he coming here for a specific reason? Was that suit for his protection during the crossover? Why does he build a suit? He's Superman. Or Bizarro Superman. He shouldn't need it. So why is he wearing this suit? It has something to do with needing that to cross over. And then how did he know what to do? How did he know where to go? I mean, this Bizarro isn't as daft as every other version we've ever had. He is just as smart as Clark.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of questions here. Do you guys have any answers?
I don't really have any answers, but I just keep coming back to the fact that in the first 2 episodes, Dr. Faulkner said, like, she said he has arrived, like, as if they were expecting him. And I think that's what still confuses me, like, about this whole scenario, because the way it's presented in this episode, it makes it sound like he, like Martin said, he did the thing to come over, but I don't, like, why were they expecting him?
I've got an explanation of that.
Okay.
So, Bizarro's world, Allie, told the version of herself in this world that he was coming over, and so that that she was probably able to track him because of being in the DoD and that kind of stuff, and knew like he was going to that area, so that's why that they were in the mines in their area, because they knew he would come out. Okay. So maybe it was a crossover, like, I'm going to tell my doppelganger that to expect. But then again,
he took the pendant, though.
Oh, that's true. He did take the pendant.
Yeah, that's true. But, and our version of Allie was really surprised to see him. So that didn't work. All right.
Then why was Faulkner expecting? I don't understand. I really probably
I still don't
go
either.
back and rewatch that scene.
Okay. Yeah, it's really strange, but it does explain because obviously by the visual we got, he went really, really far down into the ground. Yeah. And coming to our Earth, where the yellow sun, the power, like he's weaker here. That explains why it was hard for him to get out, because he's not
and all the XK
here.
Around him,
and all the XK around him. He couldn't punch his way out. So when he finally did come out, that's why he was so dang angry, because he was trapped.
Plus the visions and just all of the different stuff happening.
Yeah. Which now explains, now that we know that it was one world and got split into 2, now we know why him and our Clark are connected, why they're seeing each other's visions, why everything's, because they essentially were split in 2. It's like, both all of us being split in 2, it's a stronger connection than having a twin.
And compounded with the pendant too.
Mm-hmm. I think the pendant is what was trying to draw them together. Mm-hmm. So we talked about I talked about interference, but I don't think it was necessarily interference so much as them trying to become whole. Whatever is happening, like with Allie, and maybe like it couldn't completely finish because Clark didn't have the other pendant.
Could be.
But yeah, I definitely think that when he had one pendant and they kind of came together, it did feel like it was trying to bring them into one.
Okay.
So.
Interesting way.
Something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of questions there, and it's it's fascinating.
Yeah. Now, another thing, I was very surprised to see Lana there. She
Oh
was
yeah.
very super powered and it was very cool. I wasn't too sure what it all means, but I wasn't putting two and two together that that's Talrow's symbol. Is it possible that instead of Talrow, Lana is his sister?
Yeah, that's what I was
He
thinking
has a
about right away.
mother
Yeah.
here.
As soon as X-Force said that, I thought, "Oh, it's sister instead of brother." But that doesn't make it. That doesn't make sense because that goes against everything being
That's-
mirror opposite, right?
The-
Here's my theory.
Okay.
Superman is on that Earth is not the good guy. He's more of a
Right.
gray. Tal-Rho is the good guy. And he actually got through with his method that he was trying to do last season of bringing Kryptonians into being. And we know last season, Lana took Laura into herself for a little while. So
Right.
maybe she's got that version of Laura in herself, but it was a Laura that was all in with Tal-Rho's dad as opposed to
Our Laura.
yeah, so
Uh-huh.
she's taken over by that version of Laura. So that's my theory. And Tal-Rho was a good guy. Maybe he's been defeated, but yeah, I don't know.
I like
Wow.
that. I think that makes a heck of a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's crazy. all I know is Lana looked cool as a superwoman type character. Or I was
Yeah.
thinking, could she be one of the army soldiers at that point instead of the kids being brought into the program? Maybe she was brought into the program. All I know is she looked badass, and I thought that's cool. That was cool for her to get to have that little bit of a role to play as a superpowered person because I don't think Lana's ever had that.
Yeah.
No, she just channeled Laura like last season, but
Yeah.
still. Yeah, no, it was very cool. Very cool look.
Mm-hmm.
So he finally breaks through. He steals a pendant, like we said, but he tells us that if the two alleys and pendants merge, basically they're going to have powers like a god. And so that's his reasoning of trying to get rid of our version of Allie, is because he does not want that to happen because it's going to hurt both universes.
Yeah. Now, I think like this whole concept is really interesting, and then just taking the opposites. Like if we're keeping with that theme for a minute and just thinking about it with Allie, because she seems to be in charge of the DoD over here, which is kind of like what I was surmising from that opening scene. And I was trying to think through that, and like here's how I've decided that it makes sense, because she is supposed to be very powerful in the shadow world, and her opposite self in our world is essentially ostracized in our society because of Lois branding her as a cult leader. So that sort of kept with that like opposite theme, and so I kind of liked that. And that also kind of makes sense of like why our Allie is so intent on merging like with her shadow self, because if it's going to give her like godlike powers, I mean that's the only way she can like really gain any power in our universe. But her opposite self, now what's curious to me is why would her opposite self be all in for this? I guess because she'd get equal power. But it just, I don't know, it felt really interesting to me, and I was just trying to kind of like reconcile if both alleys are like on the same playing field, or if it's like our alley that just wants to merge with the other alley to like gain all that power.
But here's my question though. You're talking about merging the pendants together. The pendant used to be one. It used to be whole here on our singular Earth. So who was in control of that pendant? Were they powerful like a god?
Yeah, that's something we don't
Possibly.
know. I mean,
Yeah.
something happened. Maybe it's somebody came against whoever had that pendant, and in doing that, it broke the two realities apart. I don't know.
And again, that's the question I asked earlier. What happened? What caused the split?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a question worth asking. I still think we're going to get the reveal that this pendant is the black diamond.
Oh.
The more we learn about this and Shadow Worlds, I mean, we had an entire Stargirl season like devoted to this. I really think that's where they're going with it. But
well, if their track record so far is any indication, we're going to get all the answers probably in the next episode or two.
In the next episode, yeah. So
Who
keep
knows?
an eye out for that.
Oh
folks.
gosh. Oh goodness. So back to our side.
Yeah.
Anderson is confronted by his supervisor, his CO, and it's General Hardcastle. And basically, she tears him down for not getting results, for ostracizing Superman, their relationship with Superman, and gives him an ultimatum. Either you get some info on Bizarro and you find him, or you're out of here. And so it's tough because he's in a rough spot already, and now his job is on the line and everything is on his shoulders, and it's just rough.
Now, I'm still questioning Anderson's rank. I was under
Me
the
too.
impression, I mean, we've been talking about it like he's a 3-star general, so what outranks that? Admittedly, I don't know enough about military rankings.
A 4-star.
I guess that's a good point. How many stars do they go up to?
Yeah.
4, 5?
I think it's 4, but
Okay.
yeah, I didn't see on her uniform, but like, I don't know. You can't always trust IMDb. They're still listing him as lieutenant, but that's not the case because those are 3 stars, and so. But yeah, so it's obviously a 4-star general above him. So
Okay. Because, I mean, I was not expecting her to, like, give him hell and, like, tear into him. So I was actually a little surprised by this scene. Like, kind of in a good way, I guess. But what's interesting is that for me, between, like, this sequence and, like, everything that happens at the funeral scene, I actually feel like I gained, like, a small amount of sympathy for Anderson. I mean, he ruins it, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, he's convinced Superman is not going to tell him the truth, will not tell him the truth. And so, like, we get it. Like, Clark doesn't trust him. He doesn't give him the information. And, of course, like, that pushes Anderson kind of, like, over the edge, and he takes, like, these crazy, extreme measures at the end of the episode. So...
Yeah, see, I didn't feel anything for this guy. I do not like him at all. I was really happy to see him get torn down a bit there. I think, though, what happened is his boss coming down on him like that made him even more angry towards Superman and treats him even more so, which leads to him thinking of Superman as only a weapon that the army can control and own.
Yeah.
And I think getting in trouble just made that way more of a stronger perspective the way he sees things. He's like, you know what? Superman is nothing but a weapon for us to use. That's it.
Yeah. Because bringing up the next point, Superman flies off from the funeral to go save a Russian town from an avalanche. And this was a really great sequence of how he did it and just showcasing his powers and that kind of stuff. But it doesn't matter to Anderson saving lives. They're not American lives, so he doesn't care.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. It was a really, really cool scene, just stopping a natural disaster. Because he's flying into an avalanche. What's he going to do? He uses his freeze breath on snow. And I was thinking, how is this going to work? But he just built up a wall, and then he blasts it to smithereens with his heat vision. So it was cool. It was just really, really cool. And again, it bugged me with Anderson. Anderson is pissed at him for saving Russians. He's just saving lives. It doesn't matter to Superman who it is. He's just saving lives. He's the world's hero. He's not the American's hero. And when I watched that scene, I thought, oh my gosh, how could they have predicted this? If you compare that to what's going on in the real world right now, this scene became way more relevant, and it's just like, whoa, what did this show just predict without even knowing it? Like, the contention between U.S. and America right now, it's crazy.
Yeah. That was pretty on the nose.
Yeah.
Unintentionally.
Unintentionally.
Yeah, well done. Yeah.
So Anderson ends up luring Superman to the DOD with the idea that he's got the pendant now, and we get the inverse of what we saw before, of the red lights coming on and then the fight sequence, but then we see Anderson take him down with kryptonite bullets, and Superman is arrested on the charge of treason and imprisoned with Tal-Rho until he gives up Bizarro. And so this was a very interesting break from where the fight sequence were mirrored to where they weren't anymore.
Yes. And I was also like really surprised kind of at how this progressed, or I guess escalated. I really didn't expect Anderson to take Clark down the way he did. But in my head, I kept thinking, I was like, well, we know he can't kill him. The show is Superman and Lois. But I was still trying to figure out, like, where is this going? And then we do get that reveal from Sam that he's been arrested for treason. And I was like, oh, he's going to prison with his brother. So, like, that part was, like, sort of predictable, but I still really, really enjoyed that reveal.
I'm so mixed on the sequence because it's not how cool it was to see that it's mirrored with what Bizarro went through, you know, and then we see our Clark go through the exact same scene. But on a side note here, is Bizarro's world a few hours ahead of ours? Because I don't know the timing of this. We saw it happen for Bizarro, and then the exact same scene happens to Clark, and it made me question, does everything happen exactly the same? It happens on Bizarro's world first, and then it happens on ours, or are they happening at the exact same time? No, it can't be, because Bizarro is here now. So whatever happened to him happened first. So are the worlds mirrored exactly, like every single, because there's one world split in two, is every event happening on both worlds, but in opposite fashion?
I think things can be pushed up. The timetable can be pushed up, and things can be pushed up. Yeah. I think as far as years and minutes and that kind of stuff, I think we're fairly in sync. But because of what's gone on Bizarro's world, he was forced into this before Clark was. So I think it's one of those things where, we're because of a delay, it's just things are much worse there, so things are sped up there of events happening there than they are on ours.
But do you think that everything happens the same on both sides because it's a split world?
I think people are the same, and I think that's the same, but because of different things happening there, then things are going to be different. Like, it's just one of those things where it's not a true, like, these are happening at the same time in the same place, like a mirror. It's just the people are mirrored, but because of the events over there, things are necessarily going to be different than they are over here.
Okay, cool. That kind of answers it. So what I'm also unsure of, though, is how easily they took Superman down. It didn't seem that difficult to me, which brings into play what I brought up before, that this show is giving us a Superman that isn't so overpowered and godlike. And I said I appreciated that before. But at the same time, to me, this was a little too easy to just weaken him and then beat him down. And it kind of makes him look like not much of a problem if he ever did go rogue. The army's got an answer. They can beat him, where that's never been shown before. So I was like, really, I was kind of uncomfortable with it. Because if the world's bad guys found out how easy it is to beat Superman, if they found out what you have to use or what you have to do to beat him, then Superman wouldn't be so super anymore. And I'm really just kind of struggling with that. I don't know where I want to land, because I brought it up before. Like, it's great that they're showing him to not be so overpowered, but they just showed him to be rather kind of underpowered. It's easy to get to him. Shine a little red light on him, shoot him with a kryptonite bullet, done. Beat him. Any bad guy can do that. Any bank robber could do that if he's prepared properly. So that's what I mean. They kind of knocked him down a little too much, I think, with that. And I'm just unsure of all that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I was thinking that maybe, like, because we know the DoD's been hoarding kryptonite. So I think maybe that from that aspect of it, it might be really difficult to get a hold of kryptonite. And so, I mean, the red lights, I mean, you kind of have a point there. If anybody can get like super powered, like red lights, you can kind of stop Superman in his tracks. I mean, we saw it. I mean, John Henry did it. I mean, we've seen it before, but it's also not thinking that that's common knowledge. You know what I mean? Like, Superman's weaknesses aren't common knowledge. They're known to the DoD in case he ever, like you said, goes rogue and becomes a threat. But I don't feel like your average bank robber knows that.
No, I know. I'm just saying, what if? Like, what if some soldier gets in trouble, loses his rank, and sells the information he knows?
I mean, yeah.
You know, like,
possible.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I just want to give props to Tyler Hoechlin, because he's getting double duty right now. He gets to play Bizarro and Superman and Clark, triple duty. And I think it's really cool for him. It's a lot of work, and it just must be a lot of fun for him. And then double props, I mean, holy cow, for the ladies of the show, and some of the fellas, I guess, but he had that whole shirtless scene for like 3 minutes. That guy is ripped. Jeez, is he in good shape? Harley's just like, yep.
I'm jealous.
That scene.
Favorite scene coming up.
I did say my favorite scene was Little Visual. No, I'm just kidding. That wasn't really my favorite scene.
But even props to him, though. I mean, that guy is in phenomenal shape. Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's a good Superman physique for sure. I mean, he's on par with Henry Cavill from the Superman movies for a good looking physique for the role. Yeah.
100%.
All right. So we'll jump into the other storylines in this episode. So the other big one was the Lois, Lucy, Sam storyline. And I like this because Sam really wants his girls to reconnect, and he brings them together and kind of sets the ground for them to talk. And I really appreciated him as a father wanting to do this and wanting to bring them together so that they weren't at odds with each other.
Yeah, no, I agree. I totally commend Sam for actually trying. But unfortunately, I think they're never really going to see eye to eye, especially with Allie and the inverse method and how all of this has just sort of happened throughout the course of their lives over the last, I mean, what was it? They said, was it 3 years, 5 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somewhere like that.
Something like that. And it's just like Lois, like, I think this is what gets me is Lois, like, she knows now that it's true. So I don't understand why she doesn't kind of maybe try that approach first, kind of like approach Lucy and be like, you're right. You know what? This was actually true. We actually have shadow selves, you know, like I get it. You know what I mean? But she just won't acknowledge anything. She just keeps like harping on Allie instead. And so I just don't understand. Like, I feel like she'd get a lot further if she actually just tried to tell her, like, accept the truth of it, you know, and then approach it a little differently.
Yeah. I mean, it was great to get to see Lucy gush over the boys and geek out over football and see who she is when she's not so caught up with Allie. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed getting to see most of the what was happening at the game. And I won't get into all of it because, you know, part of that's my favorite scene. But, you know, it necessarily falls apart at the end because like you said, they're not seeing eye to eye, and Lois is not getting the way to get through to her.
Yeah, well, it just adds some points to what you guys were saying. I think I do like Sam's attempt here. I mean, it's got to be hard for him to see his girls at each other's throats. He doesn't have his wife anymore. He wants his... Now that he's retired, like the girls say, he's getting a lot softer now that he's retired, and he wants to kind of get his family back together. I mean, I don't think any parent wants to see their kids hate each other. So it was nice to see him try, and it's still fresh, I think, to us as viewers to accept him as just a retired grandpa kind of figure now. It's tough to see, but or just weird to see, I guess. But I liked him trying. I like how he kept setting it up and then leaving the scene and leaving them up to their own devices. He did that a couple times. And yeah, it was, and then the scene with Lucy, being so excited about football. She obviously knows football, and she's talking about all the plays and the, different routines and the matchups and stuff. And she was right in there. And I'm thinking, man, the boys must love that. I mean, we don't know the history. We haven't seen that, but it seems like Auntie Lucy was there for them, and she really cheered them on, as athletes and in their everything that they were trying to accomplish. So it was a very, very cool moment, and I wish it had just stayed like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. No, I definitely think we all kind of wanted it to stay that way. Now, this is the question that I had at the beginning, and I'm still wondering. So, does Lucy not know that Clark is Superman, and has she not really known about Bizarro? Because I feel like that information alone would kind of go a long way to explaining why Allie is a villain. And like her mission is very clearly for her own personal gain, as to like gain power. So I'm trying to figure out how Allie is spinning that to her followers, and two, if Lucy like knew some of this like behind the scenes information, like, and I don't think that she does, because then she would, I feel like, be more suspicious of Allie. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I don't think she knows that Clark is Superman, and I think Allie's followers are shown what both Allies want them to see.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why she doesn't know about Bizarro either. But my issue is, at this point, if Lois comes out and tells her, I don't know that. I think that's just, you're keeping another secret from me. It's not gonna give Lois the credibility to break through that it would if she had told her earlier. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I'm just with you. I don't think she knows at all, because it's just the way when he showed up in his coaching outfit, and he's like, "Oh, hey, Lucy, oh, what?" She's like, "Oh, Clark, it's still just you. You're still the same. You never changed." Like he's a goofy, nerdy guy in her eyes, and that's all she sees. So there's no way she knows, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's get into the brothers. So I like this because Jordan is quizzing John on his powers coming in. He's asking, do you get the minty breath? Are you starting to hear more?
Yeah.
He's asking him all those things, and he's concerned. You might lose control. What do you call it? Don't ever say that again.
Ocular discharge.
Yeah.
Ocular discharge.
Don't ever say that again.
Yeah. And the idea, but he really just wants them to train together, the fraternals, to have Sam train them both. And I love that, because like now he's looking at his brother and it's like, yes, we've got something that bonds us, that puts us on a more equal footing, and that we can both do together again. And you just see that joy there. And I just really love that.
Yeah, it sets up for kind of how their storyline ends at the end of this episode.
Yeah.
Because we have that kind of like super high like excitement, and then we're gonna end with the low betrayal. Kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is playing into everything we've been talking about the brothers. How long can they have each other's backs? Will something come between them eventually? And this is kind of a hint of it. You know, there's got to be some sibling rivalry. There always is. No matter how well you get along, there's going to be something that gets in the way of that once in a while. And I think this is going to be it for these brothers. So the story is whether they can overcome it together, or are they going to cut ties and go their separate ways, which we know a lot of real life siblings do. That's what happens. I have two half brothers. I haven't talked to them in over 20 years. We hate each other. Or, you know, they basically disowned me, and I've never heard from them again. So, yeah.
Wow.
Never mentioned that before, I don't think.
No.
I don't think so.
No.
I thought you were an only child.
I
mean,
am.
I guess basically you are, but
I'll share that story privately when we're done the recording.
no, or not at all. You know, that's up to you.
It was relevant for this part. Yeah. So.
I got you.
So, John takes the XK before the game because he's got all of this pressure on him. He's got the pressure of the team and the coach, and even his dad's like, just continue doing what got you here, because Clark thinks it's the hard work and the drive but like to John is the XK, and so he's got all that pressure down on him, and you know, even his girlfriend's words. I mean, like he takes it. He has that great game, but then he's living in regret afterwards, because all that, he's like looking at that and examining all that, and he's like, it's not really me. I mean, it was the XK. And so I just love the hard look that he is taking here.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, he feels hollow. I mean, and I like that they took that route, because he knows he didn't really earn it.
Right.
And I think that was a smart way for them to play it, as opposed to him just being like super exuberant and overexcited and like really feeling like he came through, which kind of like would further the addiction more, or further an addiction more, you know what I mean? So I kind of like that they took this route. He got what he's owed, I mean, that's for sure, or at least that's how he feels. But I mean, he cheated to get it, and so yeah, I mean, it's a completely like hollow victory, and he knows it, he can feel it. I personally still think that I mean, obviously there has to be more of the storyline than just football. Otherwise, like, what's the point? So, I mean, the XK is ultimately got to awaken his Kryptonian half, if you will, and he'll eventually manifest real powers. And for now, I mean, that's not happening, and he's really now at odds with his brother, the one person that could really help him when this does start to happen.
Yeah, and this episode actually made me step back a bit from what I was proclaiming last week about him getting his power. So what it appears now is that maybe he doesn't have them yet, and only when on the XK they actually come through, because he has all the super family abilities. He's developing them all, and we know that XK only gives everyone else one ability, one power. So his are showing through with the XK, but they're just not lasting yet. So I'm with you, Harley. I think it's cracking. Whatever's inside, it's starting to crack, and he will eventually, they'll all come out. Which makes me wonder why, if these guys are twins, why wouldn't they be developing them at the same time? Why is one and one the other? Does it come back to what we talked about in season 1, that Jordan maybe has more Kryptonian DNA and Jonathan got more of the human side? Is that why there's a different timing here? It's hard to say.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's just a really good point. If they're twins, why isn't this happening at the same time?
Yeah,
I mean, they're not identical.
No, they're fraternal, so there are some differences, but yeah. So at the end of the game, Jordan and Sarah hear from their friend that the reason why Timmy wasn't QBing is because his mom found the inhaler and the cops are involved. And that immediately takes Jordan back to seeing the inhaler in John's room. And he kind of lays it out to his brother that, yeah, listen, I know what's going on. So,
yeah, the cops are going to come into play here. Like, it just feels like Jonathan's going to get caught. He's going to get in trouble, and we're going to have the big family thing. Why are you using drugs? There's going to be big discussion. Like, I can just see it all coming if it goes that way.
mm-hmm.
But and that's what Jordan's worried about. He made the connection right away. Crap, my brother's going to get in the same kind of trouble. And even though they fought about it, Jordan is coming from a place of his heart, his concern for his brother. I don't want you getting in trouble. You've got to stop this. And Jonathan right now is just going the other way a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely, especially in that confrontation scene, hear the jealousy come out. Like, he's like, what, you're jealous I'm finally getting what I deserve or something like that.
Yeah.
I was like, whew, yeah, we've got some repressed issues. We've not taken well to not being in the limelight. Whew.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
So, yeah. And you contrast that with how he comes to talk with him later.
Yeah.
In the room, and you can tell things have worn off by that point and things have calmed down, and it's just rough. It's rough.
When does he get the laser eyes? Is that in the locker room?
Yeah.
When he's like,
when
he starts to get real angry, the laser eyes flash.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And the wild thing is, I didn't notice this at first, when he throws Jordan back against the lockers, when Jordan gets up, there's like a dent there. Yeah. I was like, oh gosh, you can play that off, football. Yeah. So
it's another soccer ball in the pop machine moment.
Yeah.
Or sorry, football helmet stuck in the pop machine moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just training.
Oh.
All right. Well, we've dealt with two big aspects, and so now we're going to deal with the fallout from last week with the Cushings. And Sophie is upset that Kyle is not there, and ask her mom if he's ever coming back. And I'm just like, my heart's breaking here. I mean, this is just so hard. And just to see Sarah upset for her mom, just upset in general, but trying to be there for her mom and give her that support. I mean, it was a hard scene and a heartbreaking scene.
It was. I can relate to that. This is the night of Flash opening up all his personal stories, because that's what happened to me and my mom. My dad cheated on us and got another woman pregnant, and I was only 7 years old, and I didn't understand, and I was in the exact same situation. When I look back on it now, my mom was telling me the same kind of stories, not really telling you the truth, but not really wanting to lie to you either. And now that I'm old enough to understand and look back on it, I understand why. Like, you can't tell a kid these things. They're not going to get it. They're not going to understand. And you also can't say, your dad's never coming back, or I don't want him back. Like, it's such a fine line to walk, and it's a tough situation. This stuff happens far too often in real life.
It does, yeah. And those scenes, they were equally touching and difficult to watch. Like, everything with Sophie, I was like, I mean, that's awful. I mean, like, how do you answer that? Like, you cannot be truthful. I mean, I felt like she was as truthful as she could be. But it's like, how do you be honest while not making your kids feel like crap and like it's all their fault? And
right.
Even though it's not, and it's not, but you also know that no matter what you say, they're always going to feel that like there's something that they did, or if they could have done something different. And that's just like a really hard situation. So like, that was completely heartbreaking. But then like the moment with her and Sarah was very sweet.
Yeah. It's not easy. That is for sure.
So Kyle comes over later. He's apologizing. He's trying to reconcile there. And honestly, I mean, I understand he's desperate there, and he really wants to bring things back, but it's just so soon, and Lana's not really ready to listen or take it all in at that point.
Listen, man, you have to step back and give her time. Like being on your hands and knees, groveling at her feet, and professing your love, and grabbing pictures of your family and saying, "Look at this! Look at this!" Well, you're the dumbass who basically caused all this issue. It's your fault that picture is no longer true. So don't be holding it in my face and saying, "Look at our family and don't break it up." And well, then why'd you do what you did? So Kyle, smarten up and just leave her alone for a while. That is the only thing you can do. You cannot be groveling like this. It just makes it worse, and that is probably what led to her decision by the end of the episode. Is just, I can't believe you. I can't listen to you right now. I don't care what you say. You're making me angrier and by being in my face with this stuff. You did it. It's your fault.
But he honestly does not, that we've seen, have anybody to give him that advice.
Right.
Because
he does seem alone, doesn't he?
Yeah, because we've got Clark coming in and talking with Lana and giving her advice about wanting to know the whole story and looking at everything and things like that, and honestly being that good friend, and he just doesn't have that.
Yeah, which kind of sucks for him too. He needs someone to confide into. He needs a buddy.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have any now from other than what's her name, the lady at the fire department that had his back a couple times. I don't think he has any friends really.
Right.
Yeah.
At least not anymore. Not after everything with Morgan Edge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's true.
But
So Lana kind of takes Clark's words to heart about wanting to know the full story, and she confronts Tanya to kind of get her side of the story. And you know, Tanya's honest about like putting her expectations and feelings onto Kyle, and she says Kyle's a good guy, and that she broke it off with her 2 years ago when Sarah had her breakdown. And so you can see that breakdown was the thing that snapped him out of those feelings. And so I think it was good because it gives Lana a full explanation of, you know, some of the reasoning of why it stopped, and give her a fuller picture.
so my question with all this is the timing. Because when Kyle's in the living room with her and they're talking, she asked him, how long did it last? And he said like 6 months. And then she goes to the bar and asks Tanya, when did it end? And Tanya says 2 years ago. Oh, so when Sarah had her breakdown? Yeah, that's the reason why. So does the 2 years ago match up in Lana's mind, him saying 6 months? Or did he lie to her and he said it only lasted 6 months, and in actuality it lasted way longer than that, and that's the confirmation she just got from Tanya. So she realized he just lied to her face again, and that's why she's like, you know what, you move out, we're done for now. That's what I'm wondering about.
I kind of got the feel that it was going on for 6 months, and then when Sarah's breakdown happened 2 years ago, it stopped.
Okay, so
He went back to the bar because of the threat of the mayor outing things, and that's why he wanted to make sure things were secure and nothing, because so that's my impression of things.
And then so Lana was just verifying that it hadn't started up again, kind of thing.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think she was trying. I mean, she was definitely trying to like verify his story for sure.
Yeah.
And try to understand maybe her side of the story, because I mean, this comes back a little bit in the next scene that we're kind of going to talk about here. And so I'll just kind of like say this little piece here is that, I mean, she questions. She's like, what if this accident never happened? What if your daughter didn't try to commit suicide? Would you have broken it off? And
Right.
I don't know. He may have needed maybe something, drastic to kind of snap him out of it, I guess.
Yeah, and I honestly think that her listening to him say that at the fire station, just, she's got to take it all in. She's got to go, build that separation in. She's got to consider things. She's got to consider her feelings and take the time based on his answers.
Yep.
And, I think that's a very positive move for both of them, that they need to sit down and examine, what's really going on and not be blown around with the emotions and the history. So
Yeah, because you can't make a decision while you're feeling a lot. If he keeps pushing her, the only decision she's going to make is get the hell out, we're done. Because pushing her in this heightened emotional state, it never, ever will work out for the better. Never. And that's why they need the break. So she essentially is saving their relationship possibly by saying, get out, we got to have some space.
yeah,
She needs some space to sort it out.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she does.
Yeah.
She's got a lot to work through. He's had the last 2 years to work through all of this.
And
he
yeah.
has. So
Yeah, good point. So
we know where he stands, but she now needs time to process.
Yeah.
So take 2 years.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's about it for our discussion points. Shall we get to our favorite scenes?
Yes.
All right.
Shape out and eagle!
Well, Harley, you are gonna. This is the probably the biggest scene of the bunch, because this is where we get the info dump, and it's just. I mean, we could play your scene and then record another hour of discussion, probably.
Probably. So, I mean, I think we've talked about most of it. I mean, it starts with a montage, which we can't really play because it's too visual. But I liked the info dump kind of right after that, and so I thought we could all benefit from hearing it again.
Here we go.
And that's when you arrived in the mines.
Where I was stuck for days, weakened by the X-Kryptonite. And now I'm stuck once again. Because of you.
Not because of me. Because you killed innocent people. 2 teenagers.
Only by necessity.
You almost killed my friend.
He attacked me.
You tried to kill me.
Because I needed those visions to stop!
Enough! This will solve nothing. The pendant you came here with, what is it exactly?
It's an artifact as old as time. Born when our worlds split. Paired with its counterpart, it can elevate the possessor into godhood.
I don't understand. You came here, to this Earth, to destroy it?
To ensure I wasn't stopped.
By whom?
Let's just say I'm not as revered on my world as you are here, Cal. But none of that's of any concern to you. All that matters is the pendant is destroyed.
Why didn't you?
I was unable to. I don't possess enough strength on this Earth. The yellow sun weakens me.
Perhaps with you, it could be done.
Perhaps. But there is a more certain way to end this. Kill Allie.
I'm not killing anyone.
Then you have no choice. Find the pendant and see it destroyed. It's the only way to make sure she can't use it to merge with her other self.
And if she does, merge, what would happen?
She would inherit enough power to send us all into oblivion.
Mind blown again.
Dumb.
So I picked up on 2 things that I didn't get the first few times, and when editing the clips. He says the pendant is as old as time, born when the worlds split. So that old as time, born when the worlds split. So the worlds split at the beginning of time, or at the beginning of the Earth coming together. That's a long time ago. Either way,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
And then my other question I have is, does Bizarro see Lara as his mom as well? Since the world split, it should be his mom too, right?
Should.
True.
Yeah.
Should.
So I don't know if we react. Does she feel for him the way? Does she look at him like a son? Does he look up her? Does he realize who that is? That's what I want to see.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't get the feeling that they did, but
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, in theory, it should be the same.
It should be, yeah, because she wasn't talking to him the way she was talking to Tal Rowe. So that's what I'm wondering. So,
Yeah.
Or does he have a version of her on his side?
And maybe he's never seen the actual version of her.
Yeah.
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 So,
I don't know.
yeah.
Or because it's opposites, his dad is the nice, caring, loving one, and his mom is the crazy, psychotic experiment on his kids type.
Oh, the possibilities are endless.
Huh. Cool. All right. Big one for sure. Lots of info there.
Mm-hmm.
And a good scene. I mean, it opens up with the music playing, and we see him going through the process of building the suit and getting ready. Like the whole sequence was just really, really cool. I mean, it really shocked you that that's how they're starting this episode. Like, whoa, that was amazing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to need to pause here because I have an unhappy baby, so I may need to step out at this point.
Okay. Pause and wait for you, or should we go on?
No, I think you should go on. I can mute myself and leave myself here. If I can come back, I'll come back if you guys are still on.
Okay.
Check and see if you guys are still on. If not, I will just I'll stop my recording when I come back down, and I will upload you my side.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. We'll just watch for you. All right, X-Force, what do you got for us?
Okay. So I called mine Sisters Reminisce, and so let's take a listen.
Retirement has really softened his edges.
No kidding. Dad was such a hard ass with us. Do you remember we snuck out with his rum?
I do. That's why I don't drink rum anymore.
And we took that sketchy bus back to base, only to find him waiting for us, so pissed.
So mad. I mean, you really were a terrible influence on me.
Hey, I was the younger sibling. You're the one that told me how to walk along the walls so the floorboards wouldn't creak. Which would be very useful information for John and Jordan.
Don't even think about it.
Hey, I would pull out all the stops to impress my nephews.
I think they would probably just be happy to have Aunt Lucy around again.
I think I'd like that too.
Yeah, I love Lois and Lucy here talking about their wild times as teens, and it just made this conversation, which was a bubble conversation, even harder when it got popped later. So it was really sweet. I really enjoyed it, and that the actresses did a great job of kind of conveying that.
Just agree to disagree about Allie. Don't mention her ever again, and you guys will be fine.
I don't think either one of them, as strong-willed as they are able to do that.
Yeah.
They're their father's daughters.
So true. All right, well, I'm going to wrap it up with one I called Down a Peg. And this is all about Anderson getting his boss just taking him down, which I loved because I thought he deserved it. You guys already took two good scenes, and this was the one that I found. His boss just really let him have it, and I was like, yes, that's right, man. Serves you right. Here it is.
Yeah.
And we don't know where this other Superman is gone.
This is the last verified location that we have.
That's enough. And our Superman?
We have reason to believe that he's searching for him as well.
But not confirmation.
He's still hesitant to share information with me.
I'm beginning to understand why.
Ma'am.
Over 20 years, Sam Lane never had a single problem with Superman, not one. You've been here for 6 months. And in that time, our relationship with this country's best defense system has deteriorated significantly. Ex-kryptonite has made its way into the public domain. And an unidentified Kryptonian being took the lives of 2 of our assets.
Sending the Superman of America in to fight that thing was a miscalculation.
2 soldiers died. It was a hell of a lot more than a miscalculation. Today, you will represent the Threat Reduction Agency at the funerals of the fallen SOA members. then you will return here, and you will find that pale son of a bitch by any means necessary, or you will be stripped of your duties.
Yes, ma'am.
They casted her so good. Holy man. I was shaking in my boots. I don't want to get in trouble by that lady. Holy.
I know. She did a great job.
She did. But she made a couple really valid points. I mean, she's like, in 6 months, you broke the connection with the country's greatest defense weapon. And in 20 years, General Lane never once had a problem. And that kind of gave us a really cool perspective, too, on the history. So 20 years Superman has been working with the military, which is cool. So that kind of gave a really cool kind of historical, sense of how long that the family's been involved with Superman, the Lois and Sam. So it was cool.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah. But at the same time, she does say, by any means necessary, find out where Bizarro is and capture him. And so then she's given him heck, but then she gives him wide open rein to basically do what he did to capture Superman. And it makes me wonder, will she be okay with what he did?
He called her on the phone to say, I know how to get the information, but you're going to have to approve it. So I think she approved of the plan. So.
Dang.
Yeah.
Dang. All right, well, she's got the military mind as well.
Yep.
All right, well, we are going to move on with our show, and the next thing up is to remind you of our Patreon, and we've got some extra content out there for you guys. We've been working on it. You've heard us talk about it, so if you want to get involved, then we really wish you would, because it's fun. We're having a lot of fun with all the extra content we're doing and hanging out with you guys. This is what you have to do.
If you'd like to support our podcast, you can do so at our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/tomorrowslegends.
I don't know, laser beams sounded like it might suit it.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, well, first up is Comic Geek Kev, and I guess I will read him because Harley has had to step away briefly. Another home run episode. I have one issue that has come up before, but I'll get to that later. Someone should be keeping track of how many times they are using the word bizarre. At some point, they should just call him Bizarro instead of whatever euphemism they can come up with for Superman's evil twin. The twins. First, how do we not consider calling them the Wonder Twins? I call them Super Twins, but sure. I'm glad Jordan found out already. I wasn't looking forward to this storyline going on for the rest of the season without someone knowing. Obviously, we still have to deal with Lois and Clark finding out, and I hope they get that done soon as well. Personally, I'd like to see John have some kind of powers, even if they're more passive, like X-ray vision or telescopic vision. The Lanes. The sisters started out seeming like they were going to be okay, but I guess that was naive to think it would last. But I'm glad we got to see Lucy again. They both have points, and I would have hoped that after Chrissy telling Lois what she saw, that she might be a little more understanding of what Lucy had been through. But Lucy seemed to blow off that Christy was drugged as not a big deal. I'm also glad that we are still seeing Sam. I wonder if the plan was to retire him from the beginning of the show or if that came up later in the show's direction. Not important, just curious. Yeah,
that's a good question.
The Cushings. It's nice to see Lana stand up for herself between going to see Tanya, I think that's her name, and kicking Kyle out. She's proving that she's not a doormat. She's got people around for support and made the right choice. Certainly they will probably get back together, and that's fine as well, but giving her the time to sort that out herself is a smart move in my opinion. Yes, it drives some additional drama, but that's okay. It's kind of a C-plot story, and as long as it stays there, we won't have any problems. Superman and Bizarro. We very cool to see some Bizarro backstory, but it looks like not everyone there has the bad skin issue. And now we've got some backstory as to how Bizarro got to this Earth. I'm sure someone will figure it out, but the fights that Bizarro and Superman had looked pretty identical. But it looked like Bizarro took XK to weaken himself on purpose. And why the suit? Because he had diminished powers, I'm guessing. He put himself into the ground. Why? Is that the only way to get to the other Earth? Why does he look like that? Alternate Krypton? Yeah, we were asking the same questions. No idea.
Mm-hmm.
Did Bizarro have a super cat instead of a super dog? And the newspapers were printed backwards, which makes sense, but we definitely need to see more of that. Like, was that Lana and wearing a Kryptonian crest of some kind? Was she on that world super team for the... So many questions. Still, Clark seemed to think he told the whole story. Yeah, exactly. We were asking all the same stuff. Superman of America is just an awful name. They took his name, they took his symbol, and they got them killed. Now my biggest issue. The red sun energy shouldn't take away Superman's powers. He should still be powered up until the yellow sun energy he has stored up is used up. Then he would just be like a human. This happened last season also, I think, or maybe it was on Supergirl. But it's not kryptonite and it shouldn't affect him that way. Okay, rant over. But
good points.
Kev's got a really good point there, because we've seen before many times that when Superman is no longer in the yellow sun's energy, he just slowly loses his power. And even with red sun, he just slowly diminishes. It's not an instantaneous thing.
Right.
So, yeah, it's a good point. Another super episode. I'm giving it 8.5 out of 10. Bad uses of red sun energy. Admittedly, it's just a pet peeve of mine, but it really peeves me. Comic Geek Kev.
Nice.
Awesome. All right. Next up, Dad L.
Dad L says, "Hello, Superfam. Wow. So much happened in this episode. The opening sequence in Bizarro World. I thought everyone would look like Bizarro, but they didn't. So where did Bizarro come from? Why does he have such distinct facial features?
Yeah. Why?
Superman arrested for treason. Now this is an interesting storyline. And who else is the government holding? Yes, Talro. Are we going to get a brotherly prison break? I think that kind of action would only serve to further downgrade the DoD's view of Superman. Interesting. I should point out that bringing Tal back this way is very organic.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be forcing it, and that is to be commended. Yeah, I agree. Lastly, the hallway fights scenes and how they mirrored each other were awesome. For me, this had a deeper meaning. Bizarro and Superman may have more in common than meets the eye. I give this episode 9 tugs on Superman's cape. As Jim Croce would remind us, you don't do that. Soups is not going to be happy, especially since Kryptonite was involved. Dad L, last father of Krypton. Good thoughts, Dad L. Love it.
Yeah, I guess we didn't really touch on the very last moment, the musical montage of him being taken away under red light and strapped down and knocked out. And he's being carted off. That was a really tough scene to watch, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
And I mean, I can't see how he's ever going to want to trust or work with the government again after this.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, next up is Perry White, and he says, "Hey, fam of Steel, Perry White here with feedback for Soups and Low episode Tried and True. I apologize for sending a long email rather than voicemail, but here goes." Yeah, I'm struggling with my voice tonight, guys. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I know. Both of us.
From start to finish, this episode was a frickin' 10. I mean, I even liked the John and Jordan SK story this episode. I didn't find any weaknesses, but that doesn't mean I don't have questions. How did General Mitch Anderson get the authority to charge Soups with treason? Especially after General Hardcastle seemed to disparage Anderson and called Superman the country's greatest protector. She seemed decidedly on Team Superman, so it's strange that Anderson could get approval to arrest and charge Soups with treason. I wonder who gave him the okay. And to hurt Superman. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
For my next point, I am relying on my experience as a cops and courts reporter. So hear me out. I do not agree with General Anderson's actions. However, if you look at the Bizarro situation objectively, you have to question Superman's actions. Essentially, he's harboring a murderer. That is a big deal. Imagine if Superman, instead of Anderson, had to stand in front of that grieving mother and tell her that he found the person responsible for her child's death, but I'm just letting him hang out at my house. That's crazy, right? So I say all that to say this. The show has a real chance to reveal what justice looks like in the Arrowverse. How do the wheels of jurisprudence? I've never seen that word before. How do the wheels of jurisprudence work with the Arrowverse? To be honest, I don't really know based on what we've seen. Let's take Tal-Rho for an example. As television viewers, we know that he directly or set in motion actions that killed or hurt many people. But we don't know how a civilian or military court weighed evidence or administered justice or doled out his sentence. Sort of like what happens when villains get put in Iron Heights on the Flash or Argus facilities throughout the Arrowverse. We see them do bad as viewers, but we don't see how the courts handle those matters. They just wind up in jail. Do they get life sentences? Is there a chance for parole? How long is Tal-Rho supposed to be in his red prison? Those things might not always matter because they're villains and we stop thinking about them when they're off screen. But Superman's arrest crystallizes the issue because now we have to be keenly interested in how justice is supposed to work. See, this is interesting how he's bringing that up because it makes me wonder if they even go through the court system. Is the military above that because this is dealing with superpowered people and aliens and all that? Do they just supersede the court and they don't have to do law or follow rules? Like, that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know.
Treason is defined as intentionally betraying one's allegiance by levying war against the government or giving aid or comfort to its enemies. In the most basic sense, Superman is guilty of treason. There is solid evidence that Bizarro killed 2 military assets. And Superman, instead of taking Bizarro to military authorities, decided to hold him at his home, essentially giving him comfort. Okay. Excellent lessons here you're giving us, Perry. Now, don't get me started with how Superman is violating Bizarro's rights by holding him indefinitely. And sure, you could say that Bizarro's case is unique and extraordinary, but what if Superman was flying home and saw a fatal bank robbery? If Superman apprehended that bank robber and instead of taking him to the authorities, placed him in a cell at his fortress for an indeterminate period of time, how would we view that? Again, I'm not saying I agree with General Anderson, and I'm also not saying that Superman's actions have not been in the best interest of public safety, but you could easily argue that some of his actions have been in his own best interest. I think it's reasonable to question these things and hold him accountable. You could say it's very similar to Lois not telling the full truth with her reporting. Right?
True.
I would absolutely love seeing how military justice plays out on the show. How cool would it be for Catherine Bell of JAG fame to guest star for an episode about military justice? Yeah. Okay, I've probably gone on about this issue enough, and I didn't even mention that brief tease of Lana Lang as Superwoman. I mean, how cool was that? Yeah. Anyway, even with the issues I had about cops and courts and justice, I absolutely love this episode. I can't wait for next week's episode, Anti-Hero, directed by the brilliant Lil Henstrich. She directed the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode As I Have Always Been, which is one of the best hours on television, period. Until then, this has been a long-winded Perry White. I'm out. Awesome thoughts, Perry White. Thank you for that. Next up is Dreamweaver.
Yes, closing us out is Dreamweaver. Hello, fam of steel. Dreamweaver here with my feedback for Superman and Lois, Season 2, Episode 6, Tried and True. What an episode. After feeling pretty meh on the last few, this one really upped the game. I'm giving this 8.5 times they've said bizarre so far out of 10.
Yeah.
The opening sequence was pretty damn cool and raised so many questions. So we got a little glimpse into Bizarro world, and they have a red sun and this Kal-El taking green kryptonite inhaler. All the letters on the newspaper and the signs were backwards. I guess the Kents had Crypto the super cat instead of super dog. Or maybe that's just Streaky. Oh, that's true. Streaky the cat. I forgot about Streaky.
Oh, I didn't know there's a Streaky the cat.
Yeah. And Lois and John's faces were crossed out in the family photos. That world's Lana is one of the Supermen of America? What? And that pendant was causing both cows to start to merge back in episode 4. That's what Allie's final plan is. Okay. That's the thought. Yep. Okay.
X-Force, a thought just crossed my mind here. If Bizarro on his world has a family, married Lois, has 2 sons, and they died or they passed away or something happened to them, obviously he loves them. Why would he, on a family photo that I would think would be a treasured heirloom, a treasured memory, why would he X them out with a big red X? I wonder if Jonathan and Lois of his world maybe went against him. Maybe they turned evil. Maybe they turned him. Maybe something happened and he's like, screw you. And he crosses them out like, you're not part of this family anymore.
Good thought. Good thought. That could be.
Because it's weird. If you love someone and they die, you're not going to like big red X across their face. Like that's your memory right there of them.
Could be.
Anyway.
Good thought.
Yeah.
All right. And of course, the fight sequence in the DOD hallway with the choreography was the same both times in the episode, just mirrored on which side the action was taking place.
Yeah, it was cool.
Very neat. I guess my question from the opening sequence is this. Did Bizarro not kill his world's Ally? Since he says that they can still merge. A little suspect since he was right there. Yeah, we agree that we don't think he killed her, just maybe knocked her out.
Yeah.
On to some other points in the episode. I'm still not digging the drug storyline, as it made the whole football game feel flat since John didn't earn it the right way. And I really would have liked to see him get his genuine moment in the sun. Yep. But at least Jordan knows about it now, and I wonder if this will actually get John to try to drop it. But he may have gotten a bit addicted to it at this point. Yeah. That's what it seems like, but we'll see. I know last week and this week it was there too. They tried to show Jordan concerned about John and realizing that something deeper was going on with him. So I hope they continue in that sense. And if it does go down an addiction storyline, that they can properly deal with the mental side of it and not just have the brothers angry at each other all the time. Yeah, breaking in here, I think that they could definitely do that. They're doing so well with mental health and family relations and divorce and everything else. I think they've kind of proven to us that they can kind of bring it beyond the surface level. So I hope so too.
Yeah.
Superman stopping the avalanche was pretty cool. They come up with some really unique and clever ways to showcase his powers on this show. Definitely.
Well, yeah, because we didn't get to see a lot of it in the Superman movies. They did when they first introduced him, when he's saving people from the earthquake or saving them from the helicopter falling out the building or whatever. It's just been minor moments, but then once they dive into his story, he's no longer flying around the world saving people. So this TV show is just showing us him being Superman on a daily basis, and it is cool. I love those. Those are my favorite moments of the episodes. Is here goes Superman off to save the day again. It's cool. That's what he does. That's what he's here for.
Yeah, he's a real global hero.
Yeah.
Lana taking matters into her own hands, trying to find out what information she could, and standing firm in a decision with Kyle was good to see. While it hurts, and while we definitely it will definitely hurt the girls, something definitive needed to be done.
Yeah.
And wow, the ending. I already mentioned the fight in the hallway, but Clark getting arrested for treason? That's taking it pretty far. The red sunlights already give way to a very threatening atmosphere. But wow, do they make a scene look cool. Some visceral imagery there at the end with Clark being wheeled onto the truck. And I guess we'll be seeing more of Tal Road next week, as the two have an unplanned family reunion.
Yeah.
And the song choice over the top of the two sequences was perfect. The tone was so fitting.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I bet you Tal Rowe's he's gonna come at Clark like, see, I told you, you want to fight for these stupid humans? Look what they did to you. He's gonna definitely try to pitch that.
Yeah. I haven't had any stray observations for a while, but I couldn't stop noticing the two girls wearing sweaters and striped jumpers during the football game, and had to chuckle a bit with the wardrobe choices for the extras. So there's a stray observation to close out my feedback. I did notice that in the second watch and kind of assumed it was kind of a pep rally thing, dress alike thing, but that was a good catch there, Dreamweaver.
Funny.
And that's all of my thoughts for now. Until next time. Which is your friend Dreamweaver backwards.
Oh man, yeah, that's really tough. I would like to just see a little bit more of his world and hear people talking. That would just be fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Good stuff, everybody. As always, thanks for that feedback. If you want to be part of the show as we want you to be, this is what you got to do.
If you would like to be a part of the show, you can send in your feedback to tomorrowslegendspodcast@gmail.com. You can also reach us on Twitter @tomorrowslegends. We'd love you to join our Facebook page at facebook.com/groups/tomorrowslegends and become part of the community.
Yes, become part of the community because it is growing and it's fun and we all get to hang out and talk and share ideas and post news. It's just fun.
Yeah, it's a blast. We really encourage you to become a part of the Facebook group. You just have to answer a couple questions and let us know you agree to things. But we have a blast in there and everybody is just really friendly, and just come and join us, be a part of it, and join the Patreon group because we get to do some fun hangouts as well and getting you good content. So we love y'all and just want to be here for you.
Exactly. That was a good point you mentioned. We did change the Facebook group over to being private now because we were getting a lot of crazy profiles in there that are not legit people. So we wanted to stop that, and Facebook changed group settings and all that stuff. So we've tried to get our best to get in control of it again so that it is just us in there. So yeah, you do have to answer some questions if you want to be part of the community, and then we know you're real and not from Bizarro World. That is all we got for you guys tonight. And it's Legends finale tomorrow night. Oh boy.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys then. This is The Flash signing off.
This is X-Force 11. So say we all.
Tomorrow's Legends is not affiliated with CBS, Warner Brothers, or the CW. We're a fan-made podcast for entertainment purposes only and are part of the Cybercast Network.